Welcome back. I'm Brittany from Hawaii Wedding Studio, and today we are breaking down the ultimate wedding hack, the Oahu Microwedding. We're diving into how you can trade a $50,000 banquet hall for a cinematic clifftop ceremony for a fraction of the cost. From navigating the Department of Health's yellow pages to mastering the island's unpredictable microclimates, we're revealing the secrets to a stress-free, high-end elopement. All right, let's get engaged.
Ruling back, trying to talk into facts. Stay a while, press and play. You're smart, great every day.
Imagine you're standing on the edge of a pristine botanical garden. Right. You're in Oahu. The Pacific Ocean is glittering in the background. You're wearing the exact outfit of your dreams. And here's the best part. The entire event is costing you less than what most people pay just for, like, a mediocre catering deposit back home.
Oh, which is the absolute dream.
Right. It sounds like the pinnacle of wedding hacking. But to actually get to that serene moment, you first have to survive this wild bureaucratic obstacle course that literally involves the Hawaii Department of Health handing you a physical Yellow Pages phone book.
Yes, an actual paper phone book.
It's just to find someone legally allowed to marry you. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are pulling apart a massive stack of sources today to figure out how couples are navigating this exact contrast.
It really is a massive contrast, yeah.
It is. We've got this incredibly comprehensive guide by Daniela Hyson, and it's titled Say I Do in Paradise, a guide to Hawaii micro-wedding packages. Plus, to ground that glossy brochure in some harsh reality, we're cross-referencing it with a mountain of real-world Yelp and Google reviews for a highly rated local officiant, Reverend James Chun.
Which is such a good way to look at this, because the contrast between the fantasy of a destination wedding and the actual logistical reality of pulling one off.
Yeah.
That is where the most interesting consumer behavior is happening right now.
Exactly. Our mission today is to decode the mechanics of the micro-wedding boom, because planning a wedding is usually synonymous with, well, extreme stress and bankruptcy, right?
Oh, completely. For decades, the wedding industry has functioned almost like a corporate merger.
A corporate merger. Okay, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, two people decide to get married.
Oh.
Suddenly, they lose control of their own board of directors. They are swallowed up by this massive machinery of venue minimums, tiered catering packages, and guest lists that just spiral out of control because, you simply have to invite your mother's bridge partner.
Right, or that one cousin you haven't seen in 15 years.
Exactly. So the couples we are looking at in these sources, they are actively staging a rebellion against that machinery. They're utilizing the micro-wedding as a structural bypass.
And we should really clarify the mechanics of that bypass, because a micro-wedding is not an elopement. I think people get those confused.
They do, constantly.
Because when I hear elopement, I picture a couple running down to the courthouse on their lunch break, signing the piece of paper, and maybe grabbing a hot dog afterward.
Very stripped down, bare bones.
Right, entirely stripped down. But looking at Huyson's guide, a micro-wedding is a fully realized event. You still have the designer dress, the professional floral arrangements, the custom cake, and, the high-end photography.
You're just shrinking the audience.
Exactly. Down from 200 acquaintances to maybe 10 of your absolute most critical VIPs, or honestly, even just the two of you. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Is this basically choosing a curated Michelin star tasting menu for 10 people instead of a mediocre buffet for 200?
That is the perfect analogy. You are stripping away the filler calories of the event. If we look at the economic drivers outlined in the guide, the sheer financial burden of a traditional wedding is really the primary catalyst for this shift.
Because it's astronomical now.
It is. We are talking about an industry where the average cost can easily swing between $30,000 and $50,000 for a single 6-hour party.
Which is a down payment on a house.
Precisely. Couples looking at the current housing market or just the overall cost of living are realizing that pouring a down payment into a banquet hall makes very little strategic sense.
None at all.
By capping the guest list at a dozen people, you instantly reclaim your financial future without sacrificing the milestone itself. You take that same budget, or even a significantly smaller fraction of it, and you concentrate the quality.
And because you aren't trying to house, transport, and feed a small army of people, your geographical options just completely open up. Which brings us to the epicenter of this specific trend, right? Oahu.
Yes, Oahu. It serves as the perfect laboratory for this trend because of its geography. Think about it. When you have a massive traditional guest list, your venue choices are dictated entirely by infrastructure.
Right, you get parking lots.
Parking lots, industrial kitchens, massive ballrooms. You are restricted to what can actually hold the crowd. But when your guest count drops to 8 people, the fragile, intimate locations of the island suddenly become viable.
You can just go anywhere.
Exactly. You can utilize the edge of a cliff, secluded inlet, or a dense botanical garden. The lush, verdant landscapes of Hawaii stop being just a pretty backdrop for your photo booth and become the actual immersive venue.
Okay, but here's my thing. Outsourcing a major life event to an island 3,000 miles away introduces a massive cognitive load.
Oh, a huge one.
Because you don't know which beaches are crowded on a Tuesday. You don't know which florists actually deliver on time. So the market has obviously responded with these all-inclusive micro-wedding packages.
Which are becoming incredibly popular.
Yeah, I'm looking at the breakdown in the guide right now, and for a flat fee, a provider bundles everything. You get the venue permit, the officiant, a professional photographer, the floral arrangements, and a small cake. And the guide cites the baseline for this foundational package at around $2,000.
Just $2,000.
$2,000 for a fully photographed, legally binding destination wedding in Hawaii. How are they even making money on that?
Well, the economics of that package are fascinating because they rely entirely on the vendor's local ecosystem. A standalone couple flying in from Chicago has zero leverage to negotiate with a Hawaiian florist or photographer.
Oh, that makes sense. They're just a one-off client.
It's exactly. But a package provider brings those vendors a steady, predictable volume of work week after week. That volume allows the provider to secure wholesale rates and bundle the services at a price point the couple could never achieve on their own.
Wow, okay.
And if the couple have more budget to deploy, the modular nature of the package allows them to scale up. They can add, drone videography,
Right.
a live ukulele player on the beach, or luxury transportation, pushing the total closer to maybe $10,000.
See, I am incredibly skeptical of this wedding in a box concept, though.
Really? Why is that?
Because if I am buying a prepackaged bundle off a sleek website, my immediate fear is that I am just entering a wedding factory. It feels like an assembly line to me.
Ah, the whole churn and burn model.
Yeah, like your couple number 4, slotted in at 2:415 p.m., stand on the X, say the words, take the photo, and clear out so couple number 5 can step up. I just don't see how an outsourced bundled package allows for any actual personality.
What's fascinating here is that assembly line fear is the exact friction point that separates a cheap operator from a premium service.
Okay, go on.
Wason's guide specifically emphasizes flexibility as the most critical metric when evaluating these packages. A high-quality micro-wedding package functions more like the chassis of a car,
Meaning what, exactly?
meaning the provider supplies the engine, the wheels, and the transmission. They handle the heavy logistical lifting of securing the minister and ensuring the photographer actually shows up. But the couple gets to design the interior and the exterior.
So they are outsourcing the logistics, but they retain control over the actual vision.
Precisely. The couple still writes their own vows, dictates the aesthetic of the florals, and most importantly, they choose the specific backdrop.
Yeah.
Oahu offers an incredibly diverse topography.
Right, it's not just one long beach.
No, not at all. A couple might want the iconic, highly recognizable Diamond Head views of Magic Island. Or they might prefer the dense, quiet greenery of the botanical gardens near Kahanamoku Beach. The package is just the logistical delivery system for their highly personalized choices.
Okay, on paper, that sounds like a flawless system. You pay your fee, you show up in your dress, and you get a magazine cover milestone.
In theory, yes.
Right, in theory. But this is where we have to pivot from the glossy theory of the blog post to the messy reality of the Yelp reviews, because nature and the state government do not care about your Pinterest board.
They really don't.
Let's talk about the bureaucracy of paradise. You mentioned earlier that couples are choosing Hawaii to bypass the stress of a traditional wedding, but the legal mechanics of getting married on an island are surprisingly archaic.
Oh, the administrative hurdle is where a lot of destination couples get completely blindsided.
Yeah.
The assumption is that because Hawaii is a massive tourist economy, getting a marriage license will be as streamlined as checking into a resort.
Like an app on your phone or something.
Yeah, exactly. But you are dealing with the Department of Health, which operates on its own timeline and with its own very old legacy systems.
The legacy systems are wild. I was reading this one review from a bride named Katrina C., and she details the moment they walked out of the Department of Health with their marriage license.
Oh, the phone book story.
Yes. The government officials didn't give them a digital portal or a streamlined app to find a legally registered officiant. They handed her a physical phone book, a thick paper phone book.
In this day and age, it's almost hard to believe.
She describes sitting in her hotel room, manually dialing numbers from this Yellow Pages directory, leaving voicemails, and just waiting for someone, anyone, to call back and confirm they could perform the ceremony. It completely shatters the illusion of a stress-free paradise.
It really highlights a major vulnerability in destination planning. You are imposing your mainland expectations of digital efficiency onto a local island infrastructure that just operates differently.
And that bureaucratic friction extends directly to the physical locations too, doesn't it?
It does. The romantic idea is that you find a beautiful stretch of sand, gather your 10 guests, and start reciting vows. But the state of Hawaii strictly regulates its shorelines to preserve the ecosystem and maintain public access.
Which leads to the permit trap. There is a deeply cautionary review here from Kila Cueva. She booked this stunning spot at Honolulu Ridge, but she didn't fully understand the scaling laws of Hawaiian beach permits.
Which are very strict.
Super strict. She warned other couples that because her guest count slowly crept up over 20 people, just, a few extra cousins deciding to make the trip at the last minute, she crossed a legal threshold.
Yep, the 20-person rule.
She suddenly needed to pull a specialized event permit to be legally allowed to gather on that sand. If a park ranger walks by and you don't have that paperwork, your wedding is shut down mid-vow.
Which is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And even if your paperwork is flawless, you cannot legislate the sky.
Oh, the weather.
The guide heavily promotes the lush, verdant landscapes of Oahu as a major selling point. But we have to look at the meteorological mechanics of how a landscape actually becomes lush and verdant.
It rains a lot.
It requires a tremendous amount of precipitation. The mountains of Oahu catch the trade winds, which means localized, intense rain squalls can develop incredibly fast.
The weather mechanics are terrifying when you're the one paying for the photographer. Imagine the scenario for a second, and listener, imagine you've flown 3,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean. You are standing on your permitted beach, your hair is perfectly styled, your guests are seated, the photographer is checking the lighting, and then the wind shifts.
And it happens that fast.
A tropical squall rolls over the ridge, the wind starts howling, and the sky turns gray. What is your game plan? If you bought a rigid, cheap package from a vendor who just treats you like couple number 4 on the assembly line, you are entirely out of luck. You are getting married in a hurricane.
A low-tier operator will simply execute the contract as written, regardless of the conditions. They'll just stand there in the rain.
Because they have couple number 5 waiting in 20 minutes.
Exactly. This is where the true value of an elite local professional becomes apparent, and why the stack of reviews for Reverend James Chun is so illuminating. Reading through these accounts, you aren't just looking at feedback for a guy who reads a nice poem. You are looking at a masterclass in risk mitigation and real-time crisis management.
The way he dismantles the bureaucratic hurdles before they even happen is brilliant. Multiple couples mention that Chun doesn't wait for them to fly to Hawaii and get handed a phone book.
Right, he preempts it.
He sends them a 5-minute YouTube tutorial weeks in advance. He physically walks them through the exact digital and physical steps required to secure a Hawaii marriage license, demystifying the entire Department of Health process. He lowers their cognitive load while they are still sitting in their living rooms back home.
By doing that, he is systematically removing the cortisol spikes from the experience. He understands that a confused, stressed couple cannot be present for the emotional weight of their own wedding.
No, they'd just be panicked.
And his approach to the meteorological threats requires an encyclopedic knowledge of the island's microclimates.
Kaylee F's review is the perfect case study for this. She writes that on the day of her ceremony, her original carefully chosen beach location was getting hammered by wind and rain. That scrawl we just talked about, it actually happened to her.
Her worst nightmare realized.
But Chun didn't just shrug and open an umbrella. Because he understands the island's wind shadows, he seamlessly audited the weather, found a break in the system, and relocated the entire wedding party to a completely different, perfectly dry location on the fly.
To execute a pivot like that 30 minutes before a ceremony requires immense logistical authority. You have to communicate the new coordinates to the photographer, the floral delivery, and the guests, while simultaneously keeping the couple calm.
That's why he's the ultimate fixer.
Yes. A package provider isn't just selling you a floral archway, they're selling you their local agility. They are your insurance policy against the unpredictable mechanics of an island environment.
But the reviews also reveal these highly specific, hyper-personal mechanics that completely debunk my initial fear of the assembly line experience.
Oh, the personalized touches.
Yeah, going back to Katrina C. the bride who dealt with the phone book, she and her partner were having a true micro-wedding. It was literally just the two of them and the Reverend. No guests.
Very intimate.
Chun recognized that they wouldn't have any video of this massive life event, so he just brought his own 360-degree camera to the beach and filmed the entire private elopement for them, just to be nice. They didn't pay for a videography package. He just understood the psychological value of capturing that moment and provided the hardware to do it.
That requires a level of empathy that you simply cannot build into a standard operating procedure. It shows an awareness of the event's permanence. Even if performing ceremonies is his daily routine, he treats each one as the couple's singular milestone.
And he applies that same level of control to the guests, which is perhaps even more critical.
The crowd control.
The crowd control mechanics. Trisha Lee Sanchez left a review that highlights something so subtle but so necessary. Chun actively manages what is called an unplugged ceremony. Before the bride even walks down the sand, he addresses the guests and explicitly instructs them to put their smartphones and iPads away.
Which is so hard to enforce these days.
It is. But he promises them a designated, heavily photographed moment later, and he sets a firm boundary that they must be visually present for the actual vows.
If an officiant does not take that authoritative stance, the couple's professional, expensive photographs will be completely ruined by a sea of glowing screens and extended arms blocking the aisle. It is an incredibly modern problem, and it requires the officiant to act as a gentle but firm bouncer for the couple's visual memories.
Gentle bouncer, exactly. Trisha also noted the physical choreography of the kiss. Right before the couple leans in for their first kiss as a married couple, Chun physically steps out of the frame.
That is such a pro move.
He deliberately moves a few feet away so that the photographer gets this clean, isolated cinematic shot of just the two of them, without a random guy in a suit hovering awkwardly in the background between their shoulders.
Photobombing the most important moment.
Right. It's invisible directing. The couple doesn't even realize they're being staged for the perfect photo.
It is entirely by design. And we also see him grounding the event in the cultural reality of the location. Reviewer Sydney Stotler details how Chun incorporates a traditional Hawaiian lei ceremony into the vows.
Oh, I loved reading about that.
It's a crucial differentiator. A destination wedding can very easily feel like an extractive process. You fly in, use a pretty beach as a prop, and fly out. By facilitating the exchange of leis, he is introducing the Hawaiian concepts of respect and shared breath into the ceremony. It roots the milestone in the host culture, elevating it from a simple photo op to a contextualized, meaningful ritual.
So when you aggregate all of these tiny, deliberate actions, the YouTube tutorials, the weather audibles, 360 cameras, the spatial awareness during the kiss, what is the actual product being delivered?
It's not just the words being said.
No. The core value isn't the legal signature on the Department of Health paperwork. The core value is his engineered calmness. Review after review uses the exact same vocabulary. Patient, calming presence, at ease.
Which is exactly what you need.
Because when you are standing on a beach, your nervous system is flooding with adrenaline. You forget the vows you memorized. You don't know what to do with your hands. Chun provides these quiet, stabilizing cues that keep the couple anchored in the moment, preventing the ceremony from feeling like a panicked rush to the finish line.
He absorbs the friction of the event so the couple doesn't have to. The ultimate takeaway from our deep dive into these sources is that the micro-wedding package is a highly effective, economically brilliant loophole for modern couples. You can bypass the crushing financial weight of a massive catering hall, secure an environmentally stunning location on Oahu, and sidestep the social politics of a bloated guest list.
But the viability of that loophole depends entirely on the personnel executing it. You still have to navigate the fine print, the state permitting laws, and the reality of tropical microclimates.
That's not just automatic.
Right. The package is useless if the person running it doesn't know how to pivot when the wind changes. You have to hire a seasoned, adaptable professional, someone who operates with the situational awareness of a Reverend James Chun to guide the operation safely through the hidden tripwires of a destination event.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it forces us to look at the broader sociological shift happening here.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, the rapid acceleration of the micro-wedding trend asks us to reevaluate what a wedding is actually for. Historically, A wedding has always been a communal performance. It was a public declaration of family alliances, a show put on to solidify status within the extended village.
A performance for everyone else, yeah.
Exactly. But as tens of thousands of couples look at that massive, expensive machinery and purposely choose to walk away from it, choosing instead to stand alone on a remote patch of Hawaiian sand with just an officiant and a photographer, it raises a profound question. Are we finally witnessing the death of the wedding as a public spectacle and stripping the institution of marriage back down to its absolute most foundational element, a deeply private, unperformed promise between two people?
Wow. That is a phenomenal question to live lingering. Because when you strip away the seating charts, the catering minimums, and all those parental expectations, that private promise is the only thing that actually survives the day. Thank you for diving into the mechanics of the microwedding with us. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
That wraps up our deep dive into the mechanics of the Oahu microwedding boom. We've explored everything from the bureaucracy of paradise to the essential role of a local fixer like Reverend James Chun when the tropical winds shift. Remember, your wedding should be a private promise, not a public spectacle. And on this island, the perfect moment is always worth the pivot. Until next time, stay salty, stay hitched, and we'll see you on the sands of Oahu.